Good evening, this is Quintus Curtius. Welcome back to Fortress of the Mind, Fortaleza da Mente. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to tell you a story about the time I was robbed in Rio last month. This was April 8th, Saturday night. And I want to tell you this story because sometimes it's good to give these kind of personal stories out there. You never know when it's going to help somebody else. But anyway, good stories are always entertaining, so here it goes. This was April 8th, Saturday night. It was a Saturday night. And, I've been going to Rio for about 8 years now on a regular basis, about 8 years. Never had a problem. Never had any kind of a problem of any sort with crime, robbery, anything. Nothing. But, everybody's number comes up at some point, and this will be an illustration of that. So this is how it happened. I was set to meet that night with a girl that I had met on Tinder, a girl that I had matched with on Tinder, and I'll call her Carla. Not her real name, but Carla is a good enough name. I was supposed to meet her the previous night. On Friday, and the deal was she was coming to meet me in Zona Sul at the metro station Cardeal Arco Verde, which is a metro station right near Leme, near the Leme part of Zona Sul. And so things didn't work out on Friday night because she got there 30, 45 minutes late, I think, and I had already left by the time she got there, so it just didn't work out. I didn't have my cell phone with me, so it was one of those deals. So we set it up again for the next night, for Saturday night. So this almost didn't even happen because you know how it is. When the first meeting goes south, there's always that feeling that, hey, people aren't not that interested, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I set it up for Saturday night. This is April 8th. And I forget exactly the time. It was early, though. It was like 5 p.m., 5 or 6. I forget exactly what time it was. But so I go to the metro station. I waited for her there. And she's coming in from Pavuna, which is Zona Norte, the northern part of the city. And it takes about a 45-minute train ride to get there. So she got there, and so what we did, we walked down to the beach, the Copacabana, and we went to one of these little restaurantes, one of these little eatery type places that are right on the beach. These touristy bullshit places right on the beach. And I never go to these places, but when you've got a date with you, it's kind of nice, get a few drinks, kind of soak in the ambiance, and then kind of see where things go and go from there. So we went to one of these places, one of these little restaurantes on the beach. And, first meeting, you're just trying to get to know each other, feeling each other out. Things were going really well. And I had ordered a beer, a little bit of food, enjoying the time. And I had started kissing her while we were there. And that's what's so great about Rio is you can on a first date, you can achieve a level of intimacy that you don't really get in other places. One of the things that I really love about the ambiance there. But in any case, things are going really, really well. We'd already established physical contact. I had really let my intentions be known, communicated my interest. So things were really going well. And so after about an hour there, I paid the bill, got up and left, and decided to kind of walk around. And on a Saturday night, right down by the beach, it's kind of nice, a lot of people there, walking around. And we started walking around, and it was dark by this time. It had gotten dark. And, this is where I made my fatal mistake. This is where things just went off the rails. Somehow we turned onto the sand, and headed down towards the water. Now, those of you who know Rio are going to say, what a rookie mistake. What a rookie mistake. Everybody knows that you should never go on the beach at night at Copacabana, and that's true. But you let your guard down, man. Sometimes you just let your guard down. And I had done it before. I had been on the beach at night before with a different girl, in years past. And I never really thought that it was a big deal, because we weren't just alone. There were other people around. There were other couples. I mean, they weren't right next to us, but they were, 50, 30 meters away, whatever. But, it just was not to be, So we went down by the water, sat down close to the water, and we started kissing again. And so literally we're like lying down on the sand. So this was a mistake on my part in retrospect. This was a big mistake. Because even though there were other people around, I could see again about 25 meters away on either side there were couples sitting there doing the same thing. But in the big city, when danger hits, it's every man for himself, and you cannot count on anyone. So anyway, we're there engaged in intimacies, and suddenly this fucking guy comes over to me, runs over. And it was one of those situations where as soon as I see him, I know, okay, I'm fucked. Guy runs over and he says, hey, que horas são? Which means, what time is it? So you could just tell it was a pretext. And then he immediately just transitions at that point. He immediately transitions into, não se mova, onde está o dinheiro? Don't move, where's the money? And I could see he had a knife with him. And then two other guys come in on either side. And these were young guys, teenagers, but, reasonably big individuals. And I'm already, we're both already on the ground. And so Carla, basically just kind of cries out in fear. They take her purse and like dump it out. And I'm on the ground, and, this he's not on top of me with a knife, but he's like kneeling down near my knees, feeling through my pockets. I had shorts on, I got pockets on either side. He's got the knife and he's feeling around in my pockets, calma. He's telling out, calm down, calm. And I'm like, motherfucker, I am calm, And so I'm looking around, and that's the great thing. One of the things that I've known about myself is, like, in a crisis, I don't lose my head. Like, I don't panic or freak out. There's this real calm that comes over you. Maybe you know people like this. It's always been an advantage to me. I've never had stage fright in performing or anything like that. So I was able to keep my head, and I was looking at this guy right in his face, and he just looked hopped up on drugs. He just looked like wild, And he's rifling through my pockets, and he cuts the button off one of them, and he digs through my pockets. And I had like a plastic bag, little plastic bag with, I had only about, maybe 100 reais, not very much money in dollars, and a couple credit cards. He takes, and I had also a cheapo cell phone, not a smartphone, but one of those, which he didn't even want, But they took Carla's phone. She had a smartphone. They dumped her bag out, took her money, took her phone. And I'm looking over at Carla, and she's got her hands over her eyes. We're both lying on the sand there, and she's got her hands over her eyes, really, really distressed, really upset. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, should I do something? I'm thinking, like, should I grab this guy's wrist? But then I said, no, I'm not going to do anything. There's two guys. I'd probably get kicked in the head, by these other dudes. And I just kept thinking to myself, man, if only I had my vault or PPQ like in my waistband or something, I would just get the drop on this fucking prick. But those are the fantasies that you wish could have been, but were not to be. So anyway, he gets, these guys, they take what they came for. And, the thing is, during the situation, you're looking to either side. I'm looking over to my right, I'm looking over to my left, And I'm seeing people sitting there. Again, they're about 25 meters away on either side, and nobody's even looking over at us. Nobody's even looking. And I'm wondering, can you not hear what's going on? Do you guys not see what's going on? But I talk to other people, other cariocas, and they say, look, in the big city, people don't want to get involved. They don't want to know what's going on. And this is the way it is. So they got what they wanted, and they scampered off, ran off. And then you get up and you're covered in sand, and you're thinking, man, what the hell just happened? And, Carla was really upset, so we kind of policed up her bag, put her stuff in her purse, and walked back to the boardwalk area, if you want to call it that. And, she's really upset, so I hugged her. I had to calm her down, hugged her, kissed her, kind of consoled her, because that kind of stuff is really traumatic, for a woman, for anybody. But, she was just really upset. And, I just decided not to report it at all. I said, what's the use? Cops aren't going to do anything. It would just create more bureaucratic bullshit. There was just no reason for it. So I said, all right, let's go back to the apartment, just chill out, collect our thoughts, cancel my cards, whatever, do what we got to do. So we get back to the apartment, and literally within 5 minutes there, we're just on each other. I just, made my move. There was just a lot of pent up energy, a lot of pent up anxiety. And it was just a real release, a sexual congress. The two of us just joined together in sexual union. Very, very passionate experience. Kind of a very, very memorable experience. And we stayed in the room for a couple hours. And then after that, got our clothes on, took a quick shower, got our clothes on. I said, I need a drink. So we go out, and we went to one of these botecos, little restaurant type drink places, whatever, And even though she said, I don't, before she had said, I don't drink. Well, she believed me, she drank then. And what we did, we ordered just like and I almost never order wine. For some reason, I don't know if she suggested or if I did, but we ordered like Portuguese sweet wine. Vinho suave, like a smooth wine. In Portuguese, vinho suave. And, had our wine, and they were served in these big mugs. It was so old school. It was very continental, very Portugal, These ceramic mugs, decorated in white and blue enamel. Very nice. So I have my mug of wine. And then we go back to the apartment and just sleep there for the night. More intimacies. And then the next morning, I called up some friends that I know in Rio and told them about it. They were really upset. Cariocas that I know there, and they were really upset. One of my friends, older guy named Maurílio, he's like, Jorge, Brasil é país violento. Brasil é país violento. He starts lecturing me, hey, Brazil can be a very violent country, and ba 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 ba, the whole 9 yards. And I said to myself, you know what? I fucking love this place, man. I fucking love this place. Nothing is going to deter me from coming back here forever. Where else in the world can you have this kind of experience? But hey, that's the way it is sometimes. You let your guard down, bad things happen. You gotta keep your alertness. You gotta keep your situational awareness up, and it just goes to show you, even someone that's been there for 8 years, never had a problem. You let your guard down for an instant, and something bad happens, and this is how it is. I said to myself, "Suck it up, dickhead. Suck it up." You wanted to know what it feels like to be a carioca? Well, guess what? This is what it feels like. It feels like a kick in the fucking balls. That's what it feels like sometimes. And so why do you think I tell you guys this? You think I tell you this fucking shit for my health? No, I tell you because we all need to hear it. We all need to remember it. Okay? So there it is. That's the story. That's the story. Suck it up. Suck it up, assholes. Keep moving. I pushed through. And that's what you've got to do. No matter what happens. I don't care if you're fucking bleeding. I don't care if your fucking arm is broken. You keep going. You keep pushing through. And that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. All right. We'll revisit this a little bit later. But for now, I'm Quintus Curtius. Good night.